Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Timothy McVeigh. These are names that we all know and we dread to hear them. But what do these men all have in common? They have two things in common. All three of these men killed dozens of innocent people, if not hundreds. And another thing that all three of these men have in common is that they gave the ultimate sacrifice for that crime. They were executed under the death penalty. But some would argue that they should have been left alive even though they committed those horrible crimes. But they deserved to have a punishment that was fitting their crime. Murder is the ultimate crime. And after you murder someone, you are not fit to be left alive. The American government needs to continue executing the law. The death penalty should not be abolished because it is the biblical punishment for murder and it deters future criminal activities. The death penalty should not be abolished because it is the biblical punishment for murder. It says in Genesis 9:6, "Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man." This means that when somebody murders another person, they are destroying the image of God that was within that person. God had a plan for that person's life. And when somebody murders another person, they're cutting off God's plan for that person's life. So God says that the punishment for that is for them to be put to death also. Another verse from the New Testament, Romans 13:3 and 4, says that for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. He beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God, a revenger, to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. You see, this verse talks about how rulers are supposed to protect society by punishing the people that do evil through execution. It says he beareth not the sword in vain, and that they're supposed to avenge wrath upon them that do evil. People that murder or do other crimes that in the Bible were worthy of capital punishment should be put to death. And both of these verses from the Old Testament and the New Testament show that capital punishment is the God-ordained punishment for murder. Not only is the death penalty the biblical punishment for murder, but it also deters future crimes from occurring. Charles Stimson, the chief of staff for the Heritage Foundation, says that there are two ways that capital punishment deters future crime. One of these ways is by it being a general deterrent. This means that by that statute being in place, that certain crimes are worthy of the death penalty, people that are intending to commit criminal activities will realize that if they commit that activity, they will be put to death and they will choose not to do it. Also, there is specific deterrent, and this means that anybody who has already been convicted of a crime that is worthy of the death penalty will be put to death, so they will be deterred from committing any future crimes. Death penalty should not be abolished because it is the biblical punishment for murder and it deters future crimes from occurring. The world will never be perfect, but the government should strive for justice. They should do this by carrying out the God-ordained punishment for murder. They should leave capital punishment in law, and in the places where it is already a statute, they should continue to enforce it. This discourages crime and it'll work to make our country safer. You can speak out today to ensure that your state legalizes or continues to enforce capital punishment. You can make sure that you elect legislators that are in support of capital punishment, and you can also do your part to make sure that the proper punishment for murder, the God-ordained punishment for a person killing another person, is not abolished.